This is the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships from Bethel, Ohio, an afternoon of championship racing remaining here in this championship regatta for 2019. Glad to have you along here live streaming on the U.S. Rowing YouTube channel. I'm Mark Purcell, joined by Jenny Bean Scubin to call the races this afternoon. Jenny, there's been a lot of great competition and exciting finishes in the morning championship races, and now we're lining up for the afternoon races, and boy, what an exciting way to start with the senior elite singles.
I can't wait to see what these rowers are going to do this afternoon. We watched them yesterday in the semifinal, and it was just great racing with all of these individuals. So it's going to be a wonderful start to the day today, especially with these women. We have seen some awesome things from them. And here we have a shot of them backing into the starting dock, getting ready for their race.
These races are going to be part of the U.S. Lotman Challenge, and this is a cash prize for the top 4 scoring athletes who qualify during a series of events in these national championships. The final of the first events to proceed to leg 2 for the winning rowers. Now, the national championships right now, the winner of both the male and female open single sculls will proceed to leg 2. Leg 2 is the head of the Charles Regatta Championship single coming up in October. Then the top 4 male and female cumulative points from legs 1 and 2 will then proceed to leg 3, which is the U.S. Lotman Challenge final during the head of the Schuylkill Regatta in Philadelphia and later in October. And there will be an A final only for the A male and female athletes, and that'll take place on a 700-meter Gold Cup course. Now, what's at stake? Well, money. $8,000 for first place, $6,000 for second, $4,000 for third, and $2,000 for fourth place. And in the instance that an athlete wins all 3 legs outright, he or she will be rewarded $10,000.
That's really some awesome money for these rowers who are really putting a lot at risk as they train and hope to get on a national team, possibly making the Olympics.
In 2020
so that has to take
Tokyo,
a lot of time out of your schedule, and that time means that that's time you can't take, with other jobs, earning money some other way, because they really they need to be able to support themselves in order to put in the effort that it takes to really excel at this elite level.
So here's the lineup for the Women's Elite Senior Single Final. Qualifying for the U.S. Lotman Challenge, it's Alex Spalding in from Craftsbury in lane 1, Aisha Chow from BIAC in lane 2, Jennifer Forbes from Craftsbury in lane 3, Taylor Getzinger from Craftsbury in lane 4, Caitlin Gildersleeve from Oklahoma City in lane 5, and Veronica Toro Arana from Row House in lane 6. We have a couple of former Olympians in this race, and we will probably see some fantastic rowing down all 2,000 meters. And again, looking to qualify for the next round of the U.S. Lotman Challenge Series and a chance to win that $10,000 should they win here. Nice shot of the starting bridge from overhead here, Jenny, and that really gives a fine example of how they move those fingers in and out to adjust for the size of the boats.
That's right. So you see those where all of those fingers are connected there at the back. For the longer boats, they have a way to walk those fingers back, so you see more of that kind of sticking out the back of that start platform than the front. Right now with those singles, they're the shortest boats, so those fingers are all the way extended from the starting platform so that the officials there on the left can get a nice lineup and make sure that all of the bow balls are perfectly aligned.
Jennifer Forbes in lane 3 had the fastest time in the semifinal, 7:41.93. Taylor Getzinger will be in lane 4, had 7:48.35 in the semifinals, but of course they could have been saving something for this elite senior singles final for the women and the chance at the Lotman Challenge. So they, as you can see, the oars disappear, plunged in the water, ready for the start here, Jenny.
This is they're off. This is so exciting, Mark, to watch. You have all the way over on your far right, that's Alex Spalding from Craftsbury in lane 1. And you have an early lead there from the boat in lane 5, Caitlin Gildersleeve of OKC there, kind of second from your left. And she had a nice, really fast start off the line. Let's see if she can execute and turn that into some lead over the pack later on.
We've seen Caitlin race in a number of races, and she is always fast all the way down the course in the way of her stroke rate, the speed at which her oars, or how many strokes a minute she takes. She has always been very strong. Jennifer Forbes from Craftsbury will not let Caitlin get out. She has a fast start there in lane 3 as well. And again, the lanes are running from the interior of the lake to the shore, so lane 1 is furthest from the shore at the finish line, and lane 6 will be closest to the shore at the finish line. So as we're looking at it now, we're looking at lane 6 on the left and lane 1 on the right as they come down.
Right, it looked like Jennifer Forbes was really making up for possibly just a slightly slower start than Caitlin Gildersleeve, really taking those high strokes right off the start and using them to her advantage, and maybe taking a later opportunity to settle and keeping her strokes a little bit higher so she can jump out to a lead. And if your engine can handle it, if you can keep that up and really make that work for you in the race, then it can be an advantage.
Jennifer Forbes out front by about a boat length, and right across behind her in lanes 1, 2, 4, and 5 are Spalding, Chow, Getzinger, and Gildersleeve, fairly close together within a deck of each other. And then just slightly back to Veronica Toro-Rana from Row House, who in yesterday's semifinal sort of hung back through most of the race and then really made up a lot in the final 500.
Yeah, she really did. So that may be part of her race strategy. We'll see how it plays out for her, with Jennifer Forbes really getting out to that lead and making her presence known with the pack as they get to that pinch point there around the 300, 350 meters down.
Jennifer Forbes from Craftsbury there in the shot, the leader right now in the Women's Elite Senior Single Final at the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships. And you might have noticed there are 3 boats from Craftsbury here in this Women's Elite Senior Single Final. Craftsbury, a wonderful rowing institution up in Vermont.
Yes, it is. And Craftsbury not only has an elite training camp there on the Great Hosmer Pond, but they also operate a training camp for scullers that anyone can attend. So it's a wonderful place to go. I've been there several years. They have amazing food, a beautiful rowing venue there in Vermont. It's just picture perfect, very peaceful, and some good coaching. So it's an enjoyable place to go if anyone's looking to improve their sculling. It's certainly a lot of fun. I know there's a lot of other sculling camps around the country, but Craftsbury is the one here that is fielding a couple of great rowers.
And by all accounts, the first rowing camp in North America, according to their website. It's Troy Howell, who is the coach of Craftsbury Sculling Club. They have 6 entries in this national championship, and 3 of them are right here on the water right now, with one of them leading, Jennifer Forbes from Craftsbury in lane 3, out with a couple of links of open water over the second place boat from Oklahoma City of Caitlin Gildersleeve. Then it's Alex Spalding from Craftsbury holding on to third right now, but being challenged by Taylor Getzinger from Craftsbury in lane 4 and Aisha Chow from BIAC in lane 2.
Jennifer Forbes is really looking strong here. She's got some great reach out at the catch, really utilizing all of her length to get out and grab some water and move that boat forward. And Caitlin Gildersleeve is really trying to capitalize on her position, but she so far hasn't been able to keep Jennifer Forbes from gaining some water. So Caitlin Gildersleeve is also looking strong here over to your left on the screen, second from left, but really it's Jennifer Forbes' race.
First qualifying leg of the U.S. Lottman Challenge, raced over 2,000 meters. Athletes may qualify at one of 3 U.S. rowing events, this being the final, the national championships. The second leg will play out during the championship singles race at the head of the Charles Regatta in Boston, October 20th, where the top 7 male and female athletes from leg 1 will race for 4 qualifying spots to the final leg in Philadelphia. In the third and final leg, playing out over the 700 meters in Philadelphia, moments before the Gold Challenge Cup held during the Head of the Schuylkill Regatta on October 26th. And again, a chance for a possibility of $10,000 for these scullers through the U.S. Lotman Challenge. And these athletes on the water right now trying to qualify for the leg 2 of the Lotman Challenge. Jennifer Forbes continues to lead. Caitlin Gildersleeve from Oklahoma City in second, with Alex Spaulding from Craftsbury in third, and advancing as they go along.
It's interesting to hear you talk about the Lotman Challenge, Mark, because it sounds like they have some very different distances that these rowers are supposed to excel over. And that's definitely a challenge, as they call it. It's a challenge, and that's for sure a challenge to be able to be good at sprinting over 2K, and then at head racing there at the Charles. And then it sounds like the third leg is that 700-meter, very short sprint. So it really taxes these rowers to not just specialize in one distance, but also work on all of those.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Gold Challenge Cup Foundation setting up that format for the third edition of the U.S. Lotman Challenge races, and they wanted to cover those 3 different race distances over the course of 2019 to identify America's premier scullers and award champions in that culminating race in Philadelphia on October 26th. In the lead and on her way, perhaps to a gold medal here at the Women's Elite Senior Singles Final, the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships. It is Jennifer Forbes from Craftsbury continuing to lead. Caitlin Gildersleeve from Oklahoma City trying to hold on to second, but being challenged by Alex Spaulding from Craftsbury. So as they come to the line, these boats getting closer together, but Jennifer Forbes in control of the race at this point.
It looks like she really didn't have to do all that much of a sprint here. She's still looking nice and smooth and controlled, running right across the finish.
Big push here between Caitlin Gildersleeve and Alex Spaulding as they come to the line trying to capture the silver medal. It's very, very close between those two boats. Maybe Caitlin Gildersleeve with a little bit of advantage over Alex Spaulding. Then it's Aisha Chow, followed by Veronica Toro-Arana, who came from way behind, caught up, and then Taylor Getzinger from Craftsbury. In that order, in the Women's Elite Senior Singles Final. But Jennifer Forbes, from the beginning there, Jenny, had control of that race, winning in a time of 7:33.23.
She really did. She had her plan, and she executed it perfectly. She really didn't have to do much of a sprint there to secure her spot in that first finish, getting that gold medal by even just under 6 seconds. So that was a great performance by Jennifer.
From the Women's Elite Senior Singles to the Men's Elite Senior Singles, and this a race 2 in the U.S. Lotman Challenge, and there are 7 boats in this race due to some official happenings yesterday. So Nevin Cunningham from Penn AC in lane 1, Thomas Graves from Craftsbury in lane 2, John Graves from Craftsbury in lane 3, Thomas Pfeiffer from Penn in lane 4, Joseph William Conessa Perman from Malta in lane 5, Lucas Bellows from Craftsbury in lane 6, and Zachary Petronic from Pittsburgh in lane 7. Petronic winning the gold medal earlier in the intermediate singles, and now racing here in the Elite Senior Singles. It is John Graves out ahead as he was yesterday in his semifinal, being closely pursued by Lucas Bellows of Craftsbury, much like it was in the semifinals yesterday. Third belongs to Thomas Graves at this point, with Nevin Cunningham, Thomas Pfeiffer, and Perman from Malta in lane 5, all fairly evenly matched. That all these boats between second and fifth, all within 2 boat lengths of each other.
Yeah, this is a pretty close race, except that John Graves is really kind of commanding his lead here as we come into the halfway point of the race, and he's doing a good job of controlling it. He looks a little higher. His stroke rating looks fairly high compared to some of the other rowers in the pack, but if he can hang on to that, then I think we'll see a good finish for John.
Thomas Pfeiffer from Penn AC in lane 4 was the fastest during the semifinals yesterday, and his time was actually almost 8 seconds faster than John Graves. So it'll be interesting to see how things workout in the end, but Graves continuing to lead with about 10 meters of open water back to the second place boats of Thomas Graves and Lucas Bellows. But Thomas Pfeiffer in that mix, fighting to try to reach into the third position, with Nevin Cunningham from Penn AC just behind him, and then Perman from Malta with Petronic from Pittsburgh off the pace towards the rear. Graves picking up his pace there in lane 3, with still about 750 meters, or about 500 meters from the end, picking up his pace. See Thomas Graves beginning to do the same, and a big move from Lucas Bellows of Craftsbury. He's making up some water there in lane 6.
He really is. He's just off the screen here, but he's trying to make his move on John Graves, and he may be successful. John Graves might wear out by the end, but I'm sure he is hoping that he's got enough in the tank to keep his lead.
Graves continuing to move forward. Bellows continuing to chase. Then a fight for third right now between Thomas Graves in lane 2 and Pfeiffer from Penn AC in lane 4. Again, Pfeiffer with the fastest of the qualifying times during the semifinals yesterday by a considerable amount, but trailing by a considerable amount right now, as this men's elite senior single final, part of the U.S. Lotman Challenge, comes down the track. These rowers trying to qualify for the second leg of the Lotman Challenge, a series of different distant races, hoping to move on to leg 2 that'll happen during the head of the Charles. This a 2,000-meter race, the head of the Charles, a head race, and then the final race in the Lotman Challenge. When it comes down to it, a 700-meter sprint. Here comes Thomas Graves beginning to pour it on in lane 2, glancing over to his left to check on where his brother John Graves is in 3. Thomas Pfeiffer in the meantime beginning to move forward. Can't see where Lucas Bellows is in this mix, but as they come down to the line, charging after John Graves, it's John Graves from Craftsbury, winning the men's elite senior single final with about a boat length ahead. Second place, hard to call between Thomas Graves and Lucas Bellows. Both were pressing forward at the end. We'll have to see how they separate out there. Then Thomas Pfeiffer from Penn AC in the mix, followed by Joseph Perman from Malta, Nevin Cunningham from Penn AC, and Zachary Petronic from Pittsburgh. But John Graves again, like in the semifinal, with a big push there, winning by 2.5 seconds over the second place silver, which was Thomas Graves, his brother from Craftsbury. So 6:56.41 the time for John Graves. Thomas Graves with 6:59.61, and Lucas Bellows from Craftsbury. 3 Craftsbury's boats in the top 3 here, medaling in the men's elite senior single final, the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships. Lucas Bellows just about a tenth of a second, little more than a tenth of a second, out of second place. Now we have some breaks in the schedule here at these races due to races that did not have entries. So we will be back for the next race on the schedule, which will be the men's elite senior lightweight singles at 12:54. So we'll be back to Harsha Lake and the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships in just a few minutes. Here in Bethel, Ohio, as the men's elite senior lightweight single begins to race down the course. We have some breaks in the schedule. We'll have 3 races before there's another approximately 15-minute long break. Then 2 races and another break, 2 races and another break, 2 races and then another break, 3 races and then a break, and then the last 2 races of this national championship regatta. I'm Mark Purcell with Jenny Bean Scubin announcing the races as we watch the men's elite senior lightweight single final get underway. There are 6 boats in this race, but they are all on the near side of the track. So lane 1 is empty, but it's James Konopka from Undine in lane 2, Hugh McAdam, an unaffiliated rower in lane 3, Mauricio Lopez from Row House in lane 4, Ryan Harding from New York AC in lane 5, Ryan Ujadovsky from New York AC in lane 6, and Andrew Weinstein from Potomac in lane 7. Those 6 boats in the men's elite lightweight single final. Another final that went straight to final. And out in the lead right now is the Mauricio Lopez boat from Row House. He's got about a half a boat length over the second place boat of Hugh McAdam, the unaffiliated rower in lane 2. And sticking right with him is James Konopka from Undine.
Mauricio Lopez did jump out to an early lead, but James Konopka and Hugh McAdam aren't really going to let him get away with it, at least not yet in this stage of the race. Followed closely, though, by Ryan Harding. He has not, you can't discount him yet. He still has some overlap there with James Konopka from Undine.
Then Ryan Ujadovsky from New York AC, a boat length back of Ryan Harding from his team, and Andrew Weinstein from Potomac just beside him in the first 750 of this 2,000-meter race at the National Championships. Again, we'll be having some short breaks in between some of the races as the schedule was not filled with entries, so we have a couple of races that were not filled, but they're still allowing the time for, due to the fact that some of these rowers do row more than one race and need that separation between the races they run.
They do, and when you publish the schedule in advance and then rowers will select which races they still can row when they double up. So they look at the times and calculate to see how much time they'll need in order to get to the finish, bring their boat in, and then get back in another boat and then row back up to the start. So sometimes you really get down to the minute or two in those kinds of situations, as we have already seen earlier on this morning when we had a rower who had rowed early and then she jumped into another boat and didn't quite make it down to the start, and so that race went off without them.
Hugh McAdam and Mauricio Lopez in lanes 3 and 4 in that order are bow ball to bow ball at the front of this men's elite senior lightweight single. James Konopka from Undine has fallen off the pace slightly. He's about a half a boat length of open water behind those boats. Still in touch with him is Ryan Harding from New York AC, and then Ryan Ujadovsky and Andrew Weinstein from New York AC and Potomac, respectively, with now Andrew Weinstein from Potomac in 5th place in this 6-boat race. Now, we've been talking about the intermediates, the seniors, and the elites, and the way the progression works, and this has been a long time coming, Jenny. The intermediates race, and when you win twice in the intermediate level, then you are considered a senior. When you win at the senior level, then you advance to the elite level. So you can always race up, but you can never race down.
One time.
So you win as an intermediate, you become a senior, you win as a senior, and you become an elite. So that is how the progression works. And why you see some of these rowers row as both an intermediate and a senior elite, because they perhaps haven't won in one of those categories yet. Though that can be dangerous, because from what I understand, if you do row up and win as a senior, once a senior, always a senior, as many old person will tell you.
That's right, you can't go back. So even if you take some time off, as we were talking in the break, to hike the Appalachian Trail and come back to rowing, you're still a senior, so you are still expected to perform at that level.
Hugh McAdam, the unaffiliated rower in lane 3, now taking the lead by about a third of a boat length over Mauricio Lopez from Row House, who went out fast and early. And those two boats really beginning to pull away from the third place boat of James Kanaka from Undine. In the meantime, it's Andrew Weinstein from Potomac in fourth, and a battle for fifth between Ryan Harding and Ryan Ujadovsky, both from New York AC.
Hugh McAdam has made a good move here in the middle of the race. He's really kind of pressed ahead little by little and picked away at Mauricio Lopez. He's looking strong with a good reach there at the catch and causing Mauricio Lopez maybe to shorten his stroke just a little bit as he gets nervous and tries to catch up to Hugh McAdam. So we'll see if these rowers have it in the tank to continue at this pace all the way through to the finish line.
Still fine conditions here at Harsha Lake, just about 25 miles east of Cincinnati, the city that invented hustle. The Cincinnati region glittering with a view and vibe unmistakably its own. Visit CincyUSA.com for restaurant ideas, maps, coupons, and more. That's Cincy with a Y, USA.com. Maybe a visit here to beautiful Harsha Lake in East Fork State Park will be part of your visit to Cincinnati, USA. Out in front, it is Hugh McAdam, the unaffiliated rower, in lane 3 in the men's elite senior lightweight single. Mauricio Lopez from Row House out to an early lead, but now giving it up to McAdam. In the meantime, James Ganopka from Undine trying to hold on to third as the boats from Andrew Weinstein in Potomac in lane 6 is trying to give him a bit of a challenge. Here they are into the red buoys, 250 meters to go, Jenny.
Hugh McAdam is looking strong here. He's really trying to finish off this race and put it to rest that he is going to come in first. And looks like he's taken up his stroke rating. He really wants to secure that position. Mauricio Lopez maybe rowing not quite as high as Hugh McAdam at this point, but Hugh McAdam is opening up a bit more of a lead over Mauricio Lopez.
James Ganopka in lane 2 from Undine had been holding on to third place, but as I said, Andrew Weinstein from Potomac had begun to move up. But as they come to the line, what a performance from the unaffiliated rower Hugh McAdam in lane 3, the USA rower, crossing the line first and winning the gold in the men's elite senior lightweight single, closely followed by Row House's Mauricio Lopez for the silver and now for the bronze. Coming across the line, a bit of a battle going on here, but James Ganopka will win the bronze, closely followed by Andrew Weinstein from Potomac, Ryan Ujadovsky from New York AC, and Ryan Harding from New York AC in that order. Winning time for the gold medal in the men's elite senior lightweight single final, unofficially Hugh McAdam's time 7:07:83, and a nice row there, a battle at the beginning of the race and then trying to hold on throughout the middle portion.
That's right. He had a nice pace and really kept to his race plan throughout that race. Just chipped away at Mauricio Lopez. So he had a great race plan and really executed it well.
The pairs up next, the women's first and then the men's elite senior pairs. The race is already underway for the women's elite senior pair final. And as we are looking, it's Fisher and Till from TBC in lane 1, Grigglestone and Cronin from New York AC in lane 2, Oakes and Jacobson from the under-19 women's selection camp in lane 3, Battassoni and Abrazizi from the under-19 team in lane 4, Braz and Kelly from the under-19 team in lane 5, and Smith and Brown from Chattanooga Rowing. Smith and Brown in lane 6.
That's a mouthful, Mark. So we have, it looks as though the team of Battistoni and Oakes, who we saw previous right before the break, they have decided to split at least for this race. So we have Oakes in one boat and Battistoni in the other. Oakes and Jacobson in lane 3 in the, let's see, blue boat, is that right? Yes, and then Battistoni and Abrazizi in lane 4.
4 boats, 3 boats from the under-19 women's selection camp here. All of them out in front as we watch this race unfold in the women's elite senior pair final. Very accomplished, as you can see. They are rowing very straight, very fast, and very hard in these pairs, something in some of the other pairs races that rowers have been finding challenge with. But it is right now that Battistoni Abrazizi's pairing there in lane 4 in the lead, with Braz and Kelly in lane 5 in second, and Oakes and Jacobson in lane 3 in third. Those three boats from the under 19 women's selection camp.
It does look like the lane 5 under 19 boat of Braz and Kelly have a slight edge over Oakes and Jacobson, but that could change. But these crews, you're right, Mark, they're really keeping good lines and staying where they need to be in their lanes, going nice and straight, which can be a bit of a challenge in the pair, but they are very experienced, especially at this level.
And it seems they are really flying down the course, too. These are the fastest pairs we've seen so far, and that might mean that the men's elite senior pair final coming up will be equally as fast. But the three under 19 women's selection camp boats out front right now: Battistoni and Abrazizi in first, Braz and Kelly in second, Oakes and Jacobson in third. Likens Energy Solutions, a proud sponsor of this year's U.S. rowing events. Please think of them when choosing an electricity supplier, a heating oil or propane supplier for your home or business. Liken Energy Solutions. Watching these athletes come down the course, heading towards the buoys, indicating 500 meters to go at the finish.
You can really see that nice flow between the two of them as they lean out over their gunnels and towards their riggers, kind of moving their arms in sync together, but moving to kind of opposite sides of the boat, making sure that they have a nice setup for their boat so that there's not a lot of rocking back and forth. That can take a toll on your blade work if your boat isn't set, but these boats are really moving well and nice and steady.
It has to be an interesting dynamic, but I understand it's on a team that's under development, so you want to get as much experience rowing with different people. But what a dynamic it must be to have Battistoni and Oakes, who usually row together, now rowing in separate boats and competing against each other. That has to be a fun dynamic in that friendship and between those teammates.
Right, and then they get back in the boat together, and who has bragging rights the next time they row together?
That's right. Well, I'm sure that camaraderie is all around, as it is on every rowing team. And it's not always the races you win, it's those races you lose that you remember, and
sure.
those memories that stay with you for a lifetime.
Sure, sure. And you're always very supportive of your teammates, of course. Even when you're out on the race course, all those women obviously are wishing the other women well. They're just out there to do their best and get to the finish line first. And it looks so far as if Battistoni and Abrazizi, the U19 women's selection camp boat in lane 4, is really taking this race.
It's going to be a fight then for second and third. Well, actually, the fight for second between Oakes and Jacobson in lane 3 and Braz and Kelly in lane 5, also from the under 19 women's selection camp. But out front and moving smooth and fast in lane 4, it's Battistoni and Abrazizi as they come to the line in the women's elite senior pair national championship final here at Harsha Lake. Abrazizi and Battistoni in the women's selection camp under 19 coming in and coming across the line for the gold. And here in the battle for the silver, it's Braz and Kelly from the selection camp that will grab the silver, with Oakes and Jacobson also from the U19 women's selection camp in third for the bronze.
That was some great racing from all of those women, and I bet they're all very excited about the U19 selection camp finishing first, second, third.
Smith and Brown from Chattanooga rowing crossing the line next, followed by Grigglestone and Cronin from New York AC in the women's elite senior pair final. And Battistoni and Abrazizi almost 5 seconds ahead of the second place boat, winning the women's elite senior pair final in 7:37:35.
Some great times. These crews are really posting some awesome times here, especially with the gorgeous conditions you have out on the lake. We're not always this lucky, but we usually have some great water here, and today is no exception.
This is the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships from Bethel, Ohio. Harsha Lake in East Fork State Park, just east of Cincinnati. We'll have one race and then another break of about 15 or so minutes before the race after that. We'll have the men's elite senior pair final in just a moment, and then about 15 to 20 minute break before we see the women's elite senior double final. So the lineup for the men's elite senior pair final: Stonington and Ragland from Detroit in lane 1, Whitaker and Riley from Riverside in lane 2, Breveda and Procodco from Miami, a composite, in lane 3, Muller and Bernstein from Mendota in lane 4, Sullivan and Alt from Mendota in lane 5, Dern and Meyer from Mendota in lane 6. So those teammates lining up in lanes 4, 5, and 6 for the men's elite senior pair final.
They will be very used to racing against each other, I'm sure. So this will be no different for them when they race at home, lining up next to each other, except that they have those other competitors there that they need to contend with. As they get off the line, it's really exciting to watch a start, even in these smaller boats. It's just a great feeling to see those high strokes and then settling into their race pace.
U.S. Rowing would like to thank our sponsors and partners as we are drawing to a close for the national championships here. The sponsors and partners including Concept 2 and the National Rowing Federation, JL Racing and Visit Sarasota, EMC, Regatta Central, Empacher and Filippi, Hudson and Captain U, Vespoli and Bucket List Events, Dreyer, Croker, NK, Thorne, United. Thank you very much for your sponsorship and partnership with U.S. Rowing, and thanks for being part of the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships. 3 boats from Mendota dueling it out in lanes 4, 5, and 6, with Preveda and Procodco from Miami, a composite boat, in lane 3, appearing to have the lead right now, Jenny, as they come through the 500-meter mark. But they are dueling with the boat in lane 1 from Detroit, Stonington and Ragland. They are going head-to-head with the Miami boat in championships. The CVB, a professional destination marketing and sales organization whose primary responsibility is to positively impact Claremont County's economy through increased visitor spending from leisure travelers, groups, meetings, sports tournaments, and events. Visit CleremontOhio.com for your travel information. Mendota's boat, Muller and Bernstein, quickly catching up with the Miami boat of Preveda and Procodco as they race towards the finish in the gold medal here. 500 meters to go to the gold in the men's elite senior pairs final, and almost lined up right across the course here. The boat from Stonington, from Detroit of Stonington and Ragland, even up there too. It looks like Miami's beginning to lose a little bit of ground here, Jenny.
Wow, I mean, Detroit has really made a move, or they've kind of kept to their plan and the others have faded. So Detroit is walking up a bit on Miami, which has kind of had a lead and then lost a lead to the Mendota boat in lane 4.
Mendota, yes, I think is definitely in the lead right now, but Detroit is threatening, and Miami back in 3rd now. Then the Mendota boat in lane 5, in 4th, in lane 6 in 5th, and the Riverside boat in 6th still.
So Detroit is making a nice surge here later in the race. Hopefully they don't run out of water if they're looking to really challenge for first.
Short way to go to the finish. How short? Just 250 meters, 1/10 of this 2,000-meter course in front of these boats as they are racing for the gold in the men's elite senior pairs. It's a race now between Muller and Bernstein of Mendota and the boat of Preveda and Procodco from Miami Composite right in the next lane. It is advantage to the Mendota boat, but here comes Miami beginning to plow in. Detroit also picking up the pace as they are inside 100 meters to go to the finish line. Mendota, though, of Muller and Bernstein in the lead by about half a boat length, but the Miami boat is really beginning to surge here as they come down to the line in the men's elite senior pairs. Mendota's Muller and Bernstein Crossing the line first for the gold, it is Preveda and Prokopko crossing the line for the silver, with the boat of Stonington and Ragland from Detroit having to settle for the bronze in this race. Here comes the Sullivan-Alt pair from Mendota and Dern and Meyer from Mendota in fourth and fifth, with Whitaker and Riley from Riverside crossing in sixth. In the men's elite senior pair final here at the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championship. 17-7. Oh, by times I'm seeing on the screen, or you may be seeing on the screen, I think are a little bit off, because I think there might be an extra digit at a time. I think it's more like 7 minutes, not 17 minutes that
I believe
these
so.
these boats cross. But we'll let our results folks take care of that. Again, we're going to have a short break before we return. The next race will be at 1:34, the women's elite senior double final here from the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships in Bethel, Ohio. But first, a short break before we return to the competition. Now we're back at the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships in Bethel, Ohio on Harsha Lake, as we are on Championship Sunday for the elite and senior category races. We're going to have a couple of more races and then another break in the program. There are some spaces in the program this afternoon, rather than all of them happening at 8-minute intervals as they do most of the time during the schedule, due to the fact that not all the races were filled. So as a result, there are some breaks throughout the schedule. We have the break we just had. We'll do 2 races, have another break, 2 races and another break, and 2 races and another break, and then we'll get close to the end. But right now, underway, the Women's Elite Senior Double Final. It's Buck and Shodor from Craftsbury, a composite in lane 1, Toro, Orana, and McFetridge from Row House in lane 2, Shaw and Johnson from Orion in lane 3, Evans and English from Y Quad Cities in lane 4, Morley and Aida from the Under-19 Women's Selection Camp in lane 5, and Hummel and Miller from Orion in lane 6. I'm Mark Purcell here with Jenny Bean Scubin, as we've been enjoying these competitive races all morning and afternoon long.
It has been an exciting morning, and it's been an exciting afternoon so far, and not to mention this race as well. It looks like Shaw and Johnson from Orion are out to an early lead, followed closely by Evans and English from Y Quad Cities. But let's not discount Hummel and Miller from Orion. They're on the outside on lane 6 to the far right of your screen.
Nice shot here, looking up the course towards the finish line. The area to the left of the screen is where there's a cove in front of the dam that the rowers awaiting the starts will have a warm-up area. We see a boat ramp sticking out close to the course on the upper left-hand side of the screen, and that is a pinch point where rowers have to wait for the race to come by before they can advance. And you can see that there is a marshal, U.S. Rowing ref marshal, at that point, making sure traffic doesn't get in the way of the competition. So through the first 500, it is Evans and English from Y Quad Cities trying to chase down Shaw and Johnson from Orion, with the other Orion boat of Hummel and Miller right there in third and in close proximity to those front two.
This is some great racing right here by these women. They are looking strong and moving their boats very well. The double is a fun boat to row. You really have to move well together and keep your oars in sync to keep the boat steady, which is important for your blade work. Make sure that your blades get out and back into the water and propelling the boat forward. And you can see the rowers looking over at each other slightly just to see where the competitors lie and decide if they want to call their partner up for a bit of a surge and try to assert themselves here in the middle of this race. But it looks like it is Evans and English really trying to get up on Shaw and Johnson from Orion, but Shaw and Johnson from Orion still have a bit of an edge.
Almost a boat length of lead for Shaw and Johnson from Orion in lane 3, but Evans and English from Y Quad Cities not letting them run away. Hummel and Miller from Orion lurking there in third, just about a half a boat length off the pace, with Buck and Shodor from the Craftsbury Composite in lane 1, just about a boat length off their tail. There's also Morley and Ida from the Under-19 Women's Selections Camp, and Toro, Rana, McFetridge from Row House in the race right here, but they're slightly off the pace behind Shaw Johnson and Evans English. The U.S. Rowing National Championships would like to thank Mercy Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine for providing an athletic trainer throughout the week. Mercy Health has convenient locations throughout greater Cincinnati and northern Kentucky and is well respected for making a difference in people's lives. For more information about Mercy Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, visit mercy.com/ortho. Shaw and Johnson from Orion continuing to lead. That boat from Craftsbury looks like it's beginning to creep up.
They are. They've made a move here in the middle of the race, and they are really giving the other Orion boat, Hummel and Miller, a run for their money here for third place. But so far it is still Shaw and Johnson of Orion and Evans and English of Y Quad Cities trying to battle it out for first. Shaw and Johnson are still holding off the Y Quad Cities boat, but there is a lot of overlap there, so that could change.
The Y-Quad Cities boat really has not budged. They are persistent and glued right there with that boat from Orion.
They are, and perhaps that's part of their strategy. It could be a thing where they really feel that these rowers know how to dig deep later in the race and really surge in the last 500. So it's possible that they've been told just hang there, stay in contact, and then row your race and really power through at the end. So we'll see if they can deliver.
Watching the gold medal final for the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships in the Women's Elite Senior Doubles. The sculling event flying down the course, 500 meters to go with Shaw and Johnson from Orion continuing to lead, and Evans and English from Y-Quad Cities just a half a boat length back. And as they are beginning to get closer to the finish line, that Y-Quad Cities boat begins to creep up. In the meantime, the Craftsbury boat from Buck and Schodorf in lane 1 and the Orion boat of Hummel and Miller in lane 6, opposite sides of the course, are continuing to follow the leaders and trying to maintain some contact with them. It looks like Craftsbury may have creeped up a little bit and taken third place right now.
They look close to third place, so they're looking to get their podium finish here, but there may still be an edge for Hummel and Miller of Orion. But it really does look like Shaw and Johnson are still holding on to their lead.
Look at the boat from Orion. They just picked up the pace there, and it looks like Y-Quad Cities is responding as they hit the red buoys in the final meters to the finish line here in the Women's Elite Senior Double Final.
The Y-Quad Cities is running out of room to make their move, at least to challenge Orion for first place. But they have some challengers themselves coming up on the outsides of the Craftsbury composite boat and the other Orion boat, the Hummel and Miller boat in lane 6.
Shaw and Johnson from Orion still looking strong, Jenny, as they plow down towards the finish line and reach for the gold medal in the Women's Elite Senior Doubles. Really looking good, really looking strong, and fending off the competition. In the meantime, quite a fight for third between Craftsbury and the other boat from Orion. But as they come down to the line, a big surge from Craftsbury coming up, but it's going to be Shaw and Johnson from Orion crossing the line for the gold medal, with Evans and English from Y-Quad Cities in second. And it looks like the Craftsbury boat in lane 1, Buck and Schodorf from Craftsbury, will get the bronze, with Hummel and Miller from Orion following in fourth place. Fifth will belong to Morley and Aida from the U19 Women's Selection Camp, and then it's Toro Rano McFetridge from Rowhouse in sixth. The Women's Elite Senior Doubles, a showing there from Shaw and Johnson, reaching back, shaking hands, and congratulating each other on the gold medal in the Women's Elite Senior Doubles here at the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships.
That was some great racing from these women, and looking forward to watching their careers as they continue in racing.
One more race before we'll have a break in the action. The next race, the Men's Elite Senior Double Final. Then we'll have a short break before we get to the Men's and Women's Elite Senior 4 without. The sweep boats with 4 rowers, 4 oars, and no coxswain. Those will be quite fun to watch, both from a navigation perspective and from the perspective of a very competitive race between those boats. But right now, the Men's Elite Senior Double Final with Puz and Cardno in lane 2 from OKC. It's California boat in lane 3 with Meyer Bossi. In lane 4, it's Brown and McGuire from Greater Columbus. In lane 5, Stanhope and Stanhope from OKC. Lane 6, Mesner and Chance from USTC Oakland. And in lane 7, Workirk and Ustanik from Potomac. Potomac in the red in the shot that you see right now, as it is just underway in the Men's Elite Senior Doubles Final.
Looks like we already have some spread from the crews just after only a minute into this race. So the top rowers have really identified themselves early, as you can tell.
So we're keeping up with the points trophies here at the National Championship. Current standings as of 1:31 p.m. It's TBC Racing in the overall points trophy with 183 points, Row America Rye with 160, and CRI with 141. OKC has 89 points, Orion 57, as they are trying to build on those totals. Then for the women's point trophy, Row West Racing Camp with 105, Y Quad Cities with 82, and Saugatuck with 70. And the men's points has TBC Racing with 133, Row America Rye with 129, and New York AC with 93. Buzz and Cardno from OKC really blazing down the course there, Jenny, in this men's elite senior double as they continue down the course with the Greater Columbus boat and the other OKC boat out front as well, but many of these boats still in the chase. Waiting to get an update on these advancing boats in the men's elite senior double final. Only seeing a few on the screen.
Looks like we have so far out ahead Puz and Cardno from OKC, and then I see the colors also from another OKC boat coming into view, Stanhope and Stanhope. Also right up there, Messner and Chance from Oakland. So we'll see as this race develops how these rowers are going to stack out across 2,000 meters.
Looks like the Potomac boat well off the pace and behind, but out front it's Puz and Cardno from OKC. With Messner and Chance from UTC Oakland and Stanhope from OKC. It's the Messner Chance boat that is right now in second, and the Stanhope boat from OKC in third, Potomac in fourth. And I'm not really seeing the other two boats in this race, so there may have been some scratches or other issues. But out front, Puz and Cardno from the Oklahoma City High Performance Center ahead in the men's elite senior double final.
I think we're watching Messner and Chance here really flowing well together all the way through the drive, looking to reach back and get as much water as they can to propel their boat forward, trying to hunt down the leaders of Puz and Cardno from OKC.
Some very powerful moves there from Messner Chance of Oakland.
You know, this is really hard, Mark, when you have racing that has this big gap in between boats. So for Messner and Chance here, as well as for Puz and Cardno, it makes it more difficult when the leaders are spread out, where you have one maybe on one side of the course and one on the other. It makes it more difficult for you to gauge where your competitor is and decide how to maybe answer to a surge from your competitor, and where you really are relative to the rest of the field. It really makes it difficult if you've got to kind of turn your head a lot more than just a little bit to see where everybody is.
Messner and Chance, their head's still in the boat, but I imagine they know that they have someone to chase down by the referee chase boat that you can see on the extreme right-hand side. There is a glance as they looked to see where the competition is in the final 250 meters of the men's elite senior double final. Puz and Cardno from the Oklahoma City High Performance Center stroking towards the goal, being chased by Messner and Chance from USTC Oakland. Stanhope, another Oklahoma City boat, in third right now. Coming to the line, Puz and Cardno from Oklahoma City. sweeping the gold in the men's elite senior double final. Silver belonging to Mesner and Chance from the U.S. Training Center Oakland team. Those athletes have already had a very competitive race earlier in the day in the singles.
That they did. So here they are really giving it their all in the double.
Stanhope from Oklahoma City there crossing in third. Especially with the temperatures going up. I mean, it's still nice and not as humid today, Jenny, but boy, when you're out there competing in the sun and making the effort you're still really heating up.
That's right. That's right. We have to make sure the athletes stay hydrated. There you see some officials checking on the rowers, making sure they're okay. Asking
Getting the
them if they
okay
need some
sign.
water. Yep.
That is as we have discussed before, the referees there to make sure the race is fair as much as to make sure that the rowers are safe.
That's right.
So Workirk and Ostanek from Potomac crossing the line in the men's elite senior double final. We'll be doing two more two-race between breaks races with the women's elite senior four without and men's elite senior four without races in just a few minutes. Later, the women's elite senior fours with coxswain and men's elite senior four with coxswains will be taking place before we take another break. And then 3 races before the final 2 races. Once again, the championship races for the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships continue from Bethel, Ohio, here with the Women's Elite Senior 4 without final. These are sweep boats, 4 rowers, 4 oars, 1 per rower, with no coxswain there to let them know. In lane 2 will be Potomac. In lane 3, Chattanooga. In lane 4, the Under-19 Women's Selection Camp. In lane 5, the Badger Development Camp. In lane 6, the Badger Development Camp B boat. And they are underway. I'm Mark Purcell here at Harsha Lake at the finish line with Jenny Bean Scubin as we call these championship races 38 events naming national champions today. And as we watch the Women's Elite Senior 4 without get underway, it is that lane 4 U19 Women's Selection Camp boat that is out front by a deck.
And what you have to consider in straight fours, Mark, is steering. And we've already seen the request of a course correction by the officials for that lane 3 boat, Chattanooga. They've already been asked to move over because they were encroaching on the other side on the lane 5 boat. So steering plays an issue here in your straight fours. You don't have a coxswain to steer for you. So really it's up to, depending on how the boat is rigged, perhaps it's the bow seat or it's the stroke seat. And we see again that lane 3 boat is moving over, and the officials are going to want them to get back in their lane so that there is no contact between the boats.
And that was coming close to contact, and that can cause some protestations if there is interference among the boats. You don't have to stay in your lane, but you can't interfere with another competitor, and that was what was about to happen, it appeared, with the way that boat was steering into the path of the boat that was just ahead of them. But
That's
in
right.
the Women's Elite Senior 4 without, the U19 Women's Selection Camp in the lead, but being battled by the Badger Development Camp as well as by the boat from Chattanooga.
There we have the rest of the pack coming into view, and now we have a nice shot of the leaders here in this race, and you can see how the boats kind of crowd together a little bit. Steering, as I mentioned before, definitely is an issue, but out ahead we have that lane 1 boat is coming up upon the U19 Women's Selection Camp boat there and out ahead. And then we have in lane 6 the Badger Development Camp B boat that is challenging for second place, challenging for first really in this race.
Those 3 boats are lining up there, and well, it's difficult to distinguish the lanes as they go across, but Potomac, it appears from the red oars I'm seeing right there, challenging the Under-19 Women's Selection Camp boat. The Badger Development Camp boat B appears to be up there with them as well as they move down the course and to the halfway point of this 2,000-meter race in the Women's Elite Senior Straight Fours. No coxswain in here. No navigation provided by the coxswain, no coaxing provided by the coxswain in this race. But it's Potomac, the U19 Women's Selection Camp, and Badger Development Camp B boat that are battling out in front of the boats from Chattanooga and the other Badger Development Camp boat.
Well, looked like Potomac was really staying in the race pretty well up there with the U19 boat along with Badger Development Camp B. And as they move through the middle of the race, it seems that they've figured out their steering issues. At least the top 3 competitive boats have found their lines, they've found their flow. So hopefully steering won't be an issue for the second half and into the finish of the race.
I'll have to apologize if we're misidentifying these boats. The heat sheets we have indicate a scratch, but there are 6 boats in this race, so I'm not really sure if we're calling the proper boats, and I apologize for that. Trying to look at the oars and pick them out as they come down the course. But it does look, from what I can see, the unis, the Badger Development boat is one of the ones in the lead. And the B boat, it appears, is the one that is trying for the lead with the U19 women's selection camp. And then I believe it is Potomac that is in the race for third. Coming close to the beach, and the swimmers, and entering the red buoys with 250 meters to go, the women's elite senior 4 without final. We'll see the men's race in just a moment. But right now, here are the women's elite senior 4s without coxswain coming to the line, and the gold medal for the U.S. Rowing 2019 National Championships.
Looks like the crews are all taking up the pace here towards the end of the race as they close in on the finish line and approach the red buoys. Really looking to sit up and sprint through to the finish. So when you're thinking about your sprint, you really need to row together. Keep everything together as you take the rating up, which is very difficult to do here at the end of the race. Your legs are exhausted, your arms are exhausted, your lungs are burning, but especially without a coxswain.
The Badger Development Camp A boat in lane 5 is the one in the lead, and they are battling for the finish here with the boat in lane 7. And they are coming down to the line with a big surge from the boat in lane 7, but it is the Badger Development Camp boat in lane 5 with the gold medal, lane 7 with the silver coming across. Now it's the boat from Potomac in lane 2 for the bronze. Then another Badger Development boat after that, followed by the U19 Women's Selection Camp boat in that order, and then Chattanooga. Well, you'll have to check on the results for yourself for that race, because they our information does not jive with the information we're seeing. Those are 4s without, but the lane numbers were a little askew from the lane numbers that we had, so we're not really sure what the situation was there. We'll fill you in with that development when we can. There's an unnamed boat in this race as well, so we'll see what here now straightens out. But definitely Badger Development Camp winning the gold medal in the Women's Elite Senior 4 without. Congratulations to them. We'll be on to the Men's Elite Senior 4 without coxswain. The lineup for this race in lane 2 will be Mendota's B boat. In lane 3, Riverfront Recapture. In lane 4, the Mendota A boat. The U.S. Rowing Junior Men's High Performance Camp boat in lane 5, and Detroit Boat Club's boat in lane 6. Those 5 boats in the Men's Elite Senior 4 without coxswain. And they are now underway, with already both the referees indicating to some rowers to change course and direction from where they are right now. So these 4s really illustrating how difficult it is to keep these boats on the straight and narrow.
Right, and especially right off the start mark, it's really difficult to keep your boat straight, and with 4 rowers to keep your boat straight, when you're trying to focus on staying in time with your boat mates, when you're trying to focus on that stroke sequence for this off the start, and you're also trying to steer at the same time.
Racing happening in the first 500 meters with the Mendota A boat out in front, but being chased by both Riverfront Recapture, the U.S. Rowing, the Detroit Boat Club boat, and the other Mendota boat. And out in front, bow ball to bow ball, it is Riverfront Recapture and Mendota, with Riverfront Recapture just slightly ahead, while the Mendota B boat continues to move forward too, and those 3 boats very close together through the first 500. Fourth in this 5-boat race would go to the Detroit Boat Club boat in lane 6 at this point.
This is a very tight race, especially for 4s and for a race that did not have semifinals. This is straight to final race, And these crews are really, you can see them looking over their shoulders, trying to gauge where they are in the course and trying to gauge where their competitors are, because this is not a race that they have rowed before, at least in these lineups in these boats. So it's a bit of a challenge for these rowers, as this is their first look at this race and at their competitors. But we have a very tight race here.
Riverfront Recapture really on the move right now and out in front of the Mendota A boat. The Mendota B boat not out of the mix. Those three boats out in front, the two Mendota boats almost even, but Riverfront Recapture really moving forward right now. In the meantime, Detroit still maintaining fourth place in contact with that front three, and the U.S. Rowing Junior Men's High Performance Camp boat in touch with that Detroit Boat Club boat too, as they head for the halfway mark. But out in front, Riverfront Recapture is doing a fine job in the men's elite senior 4 without final.
Yeah, they're really walking away with it, at least in the last couple hundred meters. They've pulled out ahead and pulled out some open water over their competitors, and now it's really a competition for second at this point with the Mendota boats, one against the other.
You're watching live streaming coverage on the YouTube Rowing channel, the U.S. Rowing YouTube channel of the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships. We'd like to thank here at the park the community members who have been helping make this regatta run smoothly, including Holman Motors Incorporated, your Batavia Buick and GMC truck dealer. Stop by their Cincinnati area dealership to find the right truck or used car for you. Powering the lives of the community, Duke Energy, proud to be a sponsor of the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships. And Park National Bank, believing that strong communities are built with local volunteers, donations, and leadership. Park National Bank, the bank that's helping build a stronger community. ParkNationalBank.com. All of these partners in helping make this national championship here at East Fork State Park in beautiful Claremont County, Ohio, a real possibility this year. Riverfront Recapture still out and ahead of the men's elite senior 4 without coxswain final. The Mendota boats right behind, side by side. And then it's side by side for the U.S. Rowing Junior Men's High Performance Camp and Detroit Boat Club boats in the race.
We've seen the referees, you see them now gesturing to some boats to separate a little bit, to get some space between them so that there isn't a risk of any clashing of oars, any interference between boats. So the referee's doing a good job of trying to keep the boats on the straight path and out of harm's way from each other.
And it's not just the flag. Most of the time they are using megaphones out there on the water, and they will name the boats that they're gesturing to, just to be clear about who they are signaling.
They will. They point at you, and they make a comment to you. They name your boat, and then they gesture which side they want you to go to. And I can tell you, it's not a great feeling when you hear your crew called out by the referees. You really want to do your best to keep in your lane and row your race and not risk any clashing with any other crews.
And here we see the Mendota B boat being gestured to by the U.S. Rowing referee, riding right along the buoy line between their lane and the one from Riverfront Recapture. Riverfront Recapture still in the lead as they head into the red buoy lines, indicating 250 meters to go. The two Mendota boats side by side with them. The Mendota A boat has seemed to fall off slightly. We'll have to see how that shakes out for second and third as they're coming down to the finish line. In the men's elite senior 4 without coxswain final, the straight fours here at the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships. It is the Mendota A boat with a slight advantage over Mendota B, but as they come to the line, it's going to be Riverfront Recapture with the gold medal, followed by the Mendota B boat. Will actually get the silver medal. The Mendota A plowing into the buoy at the finish line. Will have to settle for bronze there in lane 4. Then it is the U.S. Rowing Junior Men's High Performance Camp in lane 5. In 4th with Detroit in 5th. In the men's elite senior 4 without, the straight 4s without coxswain, it's Riverfront Recapture with the gold medal. gesturing to their teammates on the shore and celebrating in that Riverfront Recapture 4. 6:18:55, the finishing time. Mendota B with the silver and Mendota A with the bronze in the men's elite senior 4 without coxswain. Once again, another break in the schedule. It will be a shorter break than before. Then we'll have 2 more races, the women's elite senior 4s and men's elite senior 4s. We'll have another break and then 3 races. The quads will have the honors then after the next break. But after a short break, we'll return with the women's and men's elite senior 4s here at the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships. This championship Sunday at the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships in Bethel, Ohio, on beautiful Harsha Lake at the East Fork State Park continues with the women's and men's elite senior fours championship finals. 6 boats racing here for the gold medal. Actually, I will say there's only going to be 5 boats racing here because the New York AC boat in lane 6 was scratched. So we have the elite senior fours with coxswain this time that will be racing. We will, as we get the lineup here, have the OKC High Performance Center in, well, I'm going to wait on that and I'll go from my heat sheet and see how we go from there. The under 19 women's selection camp in lane 1. The under 18 girls high performance team composite B in lane 2. The under 18 team in B, the A boat in lane 3. The under 19 women's selection camp in lane 4. Potomac in lane 5. And while there was a scratch, there is a New York AC boat listed in lane 6 for the women's elite senior fours.
It looks like they actually had a change of heart and decided to row the race after all, because we do have 6 boats in this race, and at this point and this early in the race, the under 19 women's selection camp C boat in lane 1 is out ahead there on the right hand side of your screen.
Almost a full boat length over their teammates from the women's selection camp in lane 4, but that lane 4 boat continued to move forward. Meanwhile, the other 4 boats in the race, the 2 from the under 18 girls high performance team and the boat from Potomac, along with that New York AC boat, very evenly matched across the back right now. But out early, the under 19 women's selection camp C boat out in the lead.
Now, we've seen this before from the under 19 women's selection camp, labeling their top boat as their C boat. So I'm not all that surprised to see their C boat out in front. But here they're still battling their under 19, their compatriots there in lane 4, the under 19 women's selection camp A boat. They are also kind of right up in the mix there, maybe challenging for first, possibly, but at this point they're about half a boat length behind the lane 1 boat.
It's great racing here at Harsha Lake on this championship Sunday. Been some very exciting finishes, a few photo finishes as well, and plenty happening here on the beach. We'd like to thank our in-kind and event sponsors: Chick-fil-A Eastgate, Chick-fil-A Milford, Penn Station, Everything Bagel, Koenig, Jersey Mike's, Frost Brown and Todd, ProSource, Scene 75, and Sweet and Savory Express for their generous support for this 2019 National Championship. Way out in front now, and open water, just a bit of open water though, lead for the under 19 women's selection camp C boat. They are out ahead of their sisters in the U19 women's selection camp A boat in lane 4. Then third right now belongs to the under 18 girls high performance team boat in lane 3.
We really have a battle for third here amongst all the rest of the boats. You can't count any of them out for a bronze medal at this point, while really it's between the 2 under 19 women's selection camp boats coming up about halfway through the race.
Again, as we begin to draw closer to the finish of these national championships, U.S. Rowing would like to thank the sponsors and partners, including Bucket List Events, Captain U, MPOCR, Regatta Central, EMC, United, Thorn, NK, Croker, Dreher, Vespoli, Hudson, Filippi, Visit Sarasota, JL Racing, the National Rowing Federation, and Concept 2. Thank you to the sponsors and partners from U.S. Rowing for making these national championships and helping us spread the word about rowing across the nation and around the world. The U19 Women's Selection Camp C boat still in the lead, but the U19 Women's Selection Camp A boat in lane 4 beginning to give them a run for their money. In the meantime, still in third, the under 18 girls high performance team but they're hotly pursued by Potomac and New York AC. The under 18 girls high performance team B boat, the only one lagging slightly just behind the field.
We really have a good race going on between these two U19 boats, and I'm sure that they're awfully used to racing against each other. But you know, when you get in the heat of the moment, things can change. The lead can pass back and forth, and we'll see how these crews respond through the third 500. Well, the end of the third 500 now, entering into the final 500.
So look inside that leading boat of the under 19 women's selection camp. Their C boat in lane 1 in the lead. However, in looking the upper left-hand corner of the screen, we can see the boat in second place, the other U19 selection camp boat, and they're beginning to pick up the pace as they enter into the final 350 meters, this 2,000 meter course. We'll see if they can make up some ground, but boy, this U19 boat in lane 1 really has been out in front and maintaining that lead all the way down.
Well, they look awfully strong here towards the end of the race. It seems that if their teammates there in the U19 boat in lane 4 decide to make them a challenge, they could probably easily step it up and answer that.
Championship final, just a couple hundred meters from the finish in the Women's Elite Senior 4 final at the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships, with the two U19 women's selection camp boats battling it out. The C boat in lane 1, open water, in the lead, heading for that gold medal in the race. Making it look easy when you know their muscles are burning as they try to reach for that finish line and cross it for the gold medal. It is the under 19 women's selection camp C boat stroking to the gold medal in the Women's Elite Senior 4 final, followed by the A boat in lane 4, and then coming up for the bronze, the under 18 girls high performance team A boat in lane 3. And here comes the New York AC in 4th, along with the Potomac boat and the other U18 girls high performance team boat. 7:07:44 for the U19 women's selection camp C boat, celebrating their gold medal here at the U.S. Rowing National Championships.
There was some good racing there, ladies. Congratulations on your gold medal. And that has to feel good here in the afternoon. The heat of the day, really, even though we've had some beautiful weather here, Mark.
Indeed, true heat of the day just beginning to hit here at just before 3 in the afternoon. Just short of an hour's worth of racing left. We'll have one more race and then another break, followed by 3 races in a row. But right now it's the Men's Elite Senior 4s underway, with TBC racing C boat in lane 1, Potomac in lane 2, Mendota in lane 3, New York AC in lane 4, Mendota B in lane 5, and the TBC racing B boat in lane 6. Yes, the TBC A boat not making the Men's Elite Senior 4, but their B and C boats are. And right now, this is a tight race in the early portion, about 350 meters into the race, with just the slightest of advantage for the Mendota B boat and the TBC Racing C boat in this Men's Elite Senior 4 competition.
Looks like that TBC Racing B boat is also hanging right there with those top crews, at least for now, as really there's not much separation, Mark. We have maybe a couple of seats between the leaders and the boats following behind, but they are really very evenly matched at this point, right off the line, having gone through their start sequence and their high strokes and settling down into their race pace.
TBC Racing certainly hoping for some more points towards the overall points trophy. They are in the lead right now in the women's points trophies. The Row West Racing Camp is in the lead, with Y Quad Cities not far behind, and in the men's points it's TBC Racing as well. So TBC hoping for a couple of the team trophies here at the 2019 National Championships.
Right now it looks like Mendota has a slight advantage over that lane 2 boat Potomac, while the middle that was Mendota B and Potomac, and then Mendota A in lane 3 and New York AC in lane 4 are close behind.
Still very tight as they head towards the halfway point. And that's how these competitions and where these competitions unfold. We've talked about it many times, the crucial nature of that third 500. Once you pass the halfway point, the fatigue beginning to set in and that conditioning beginning to be stretched, hoping to have that energy by the time you get to the end in order to have a little bit left to fend off any advancing boats that you may be leading. But we'll have to see how this race in the Men's Elite Senior 4 final works out. But right now, quite a race out front and quite a race in general as all the boats closely linked so far.
Really, especially for these rowers, a lot of them I would assume, or those whose teams have qualified, we're going to see them again later this afternoon in the final race of the day in the Men's Elite Senior 8 final. So this is not their last race for some of them, and that may be kind of plaguing them in the back of their minds. But as a crew, really you're on autopilot when you get out there and you give it your all no matter what.
New York AC beginning to make their presence known and moving out ahead of the pack. Second place, it looks like Mendota B is in second right now, with Mendota A in third. Then TBC Racing and Potomac hanging with them. The TBC Racing C boat in lane 1 on the far side has fallen off the pace. But boy, that New York AC boat has really begun to move in the second half.
They really have. They look strong, really moving well through the water. Again, some great conditions out here. We may have a bit of a breeze at this point, but it's not really enough to give the rowers any trouble, to give the coxswains any trouble in their steering.
I haven't looked to see which way the breeze, if there is one, may be blowing. That could be a tailwind that's really helping a little bit. I do see a few flags flapping, or actually a few signs flapping, so it's not really a good indication necessarily of which way the wind is blowing. And which way is the wind blowing? New York AC in the lead here in the Men's Elite Senior 4. The Mendota boats following. Mendota A has moved forward into second now with a half a boat length lead over Mendota B. In the meantime, Potomac moving up as well, half a boat length behind that Mendota B boat. TBC's B boat in lane 6 is about a boat's length behind the fourth place boat, in riding in fifth as they pass through the 1500 buoys, meaning 500 to go in this championship race in the Men's Elite Fours.
Right now, if TBC wants to place, they really need to pick it up. You see that boat way far in the back. Maybe something happened with that TBC boat that's fallen way off the pack. Perhaps they had some issues in their boat, or perhaps with one of their rowers. Let's hope everyone's okay. But you see them way back in the back, which you wouldn't anticipate in one of these Elite Senior finals where we've been through semifinals.
Especially since they qualified out of the semifinals. There could have been a crab that was caught, could have been an issue with some of the equipment, a minor issue that is causing them to run slowly. But out in front, New York AC, about the halfway point, beginning to move out, and they have stayed in the lead ever since. In the meantime, Mendota's A boat and Mendota's B boat continue to pursue, as does Potomac. Potomac trying to move into the medal category in the Men's Elite Senior 4s as they are coming down to the line. New York AC in the lead by a boat length, with the Mendota A boat right behind them, and then Mendota B being threatened by Potomac as they come to the line. But in the Men's Elite Senior 4s here at the National Championships, New York AC 20 meters from the gold as they stroke across the line. And here at the finish, reaching for the silver, it's the Mendota A boat. A big surge, though, from Mendota B, and they will hold off Potomac and capture the bronze in the Men's Elite Senior 4. Then comes the Potomac boat, followed by the TBC Racing C boat, and then the TBC Racing B boat, the B boat crossing the line. Then we'll be waiting for the C boat to cross the line. But New York AC winning the Men's Elite Senior 4 final at the National Championships in a time of 6:29.21. followed by Mendota's A boat and the Mendota B boat. And look at those congratulations being passed around from the Mendota boats to the New York AC boats, and the acknowledgement of New York AC. Quite a nice bit of sportsmanship there in the men's Elite Fours championship race here at the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championship Regatta.
That's right, but as I mentioned, a lot of these rowers are going to be turning around and heading back out for the men's Elite 8 final that's scheduled for 3:34 today.
All right, another break and then a series of three races in a row. There'll be quads drag racing down the course next time. The women's elite senior quads, men's elite senior, and the men's elite senior lightweight quads. The next race will be on at 2:54. That's 2:54, about 9 minutes from now, as we take a break from the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships. Four rowers and fast times with the Elite Senior Quads Championship Finals about to get underway at the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships here on Harsher Lake in Bethel, Ohio. I'm Mark Purcell with Jenny Bean Scubin calling the races for this 2019 National Championship. And we will have three quad races here, beginning with the Women's Elite Senior Quad Final with OKC High Performance Center B in lane 1, Orion in lane 2, Y Quad Cities in lane 3, the under-18 Girls High Performance Team in lane 4, the Oklahoma City HP Center in lane 5, the under-19 Women's Selection Camp in lane 6, and the B-Boat from the under-18 Girls High Performance Team in lane 7.
They are off to a good start here, Mark. We have, it appears to be the under 19 women's selection camp boat has a slight lead, perhaps, but followed closely behind by really all the rest of the field.
Well, still, again, trying to deal with some cross-referencing here when it comes to the lineup. 7 boats listed, 6 boats rowing. We'll have to see who is out. If you go by the lanes, it is Y Quad City who's out, trying to get a good glimpse of those jerseys to see which of the boats we're looking at out in the lead. But there are 2 boats that are side by side and dueling it in the first 500. It looks like the under-19 women's selection camp boat and the Y Quad Cities boat, but we'll have to reserve judgment till we get a better look at bow numbers and the like as they come by through the first 500 meters in the Women's Elite Senior Quad Championship Final. It is the OKC High Performance Center out in front over the U19 Women's Selection Camp, and what we can see here with Orion in lane 2 out there with them, closely followed by Y Quad Cities. So it appears that Orion is out front.
Orion is looking good here, really moving well all the way through the whole stroke and moving very well together. The boat is not doing a lot of rocking from front to back or from side to side. So these women are really moving up through the first part of the race and looking to really assert themselves as the leaders for Orion, which they're having a hard time doing because they're really trying to fend off a challenge there from the OKC, appears to be the OKC boat in lane 5.
Indeed, OKC really giving them a run for their money. Y Quad Cities in the mix as well. Those 3 boats out front. The U19 Women's Selection Camp after that. And the under-18 Girls High Performance Team in lane 4. Back about 2 boat lengths with the OKC's B boat back a bit as well. But out in front, Orion with an early lead, leading the OKC boat in lane 5 by just a deck or so, with the Y Quad Cities boat in lane 3, dogging right along with Orion and lurking right on their stern.
You can see that spread now a little bit better here with the Orion boat out in front, and you can tell that those rowers are looking over at each other, really trying to gauge when is a good time to make their move in this race, when can they take it up and really exert some pressure on the rest of the field and hope to gain a bit of a mental challenge by getting out ahead and being able to see all of their competitors. You can see that stroke seat looking over, taking a quick glance over across to the OKC boat to see what she can do.
That Y Quad Cities boat should not be discounted because they are really moving as well, trying to keep up with the OKC boat. And the familiar name Gildersleeve in that OKC boat in lane 5, and you can kind of tell from the stroke rate that they're setting as they go along. But Y Quad Cities, well known for their long accelerations right down the course, doing a fine job holding on to third right now. But it is Orion out in front by a boat length here in the Women's Elite Senior Quad Final.
All these teams doing a great job of staying, keeping a great course here We haven't seen any course corrections, and as these are quads, the women are steering themselves. There is no coxswain in the boat. So it depends on how the boat is set up. Perhaps it's a stroke steer, or perhaps it's a bow steer, but they are doing a pretty good job of really steering some good courses.
Meanwhile, the OKC B boat and the under 18 girls high performance team boat, those in lanes 1 and 4, lagging behind the leaders right now. But the OKC boat and the Y Quad Cities trying to chase down Orion, but losing some ground as the water gets shorter between the bow of that Orion boat and the finish line for the championship in the women's elite senior quads.
They're really moving well at a nice lower pace there in the Orion boat than the OKC boat. So Orion, they have somewhere to go. You know, you have an upper limit, and the Orion boat appears not to have reached it yet, which means they can find another gear if they need to in order to secure their gold.
I think they're feeling that pressure from the Y Quad Cities in lane right beside them. But there across the way, OKC moving forward too. Right now it is Orion, OKC, Y Quad Cities in that order, and they are down to the final 100 or so meters of this race.
You really need to stay loose here. Stay loose in your shoulders. You don't want to get too anxious here at the finish, especially as a sculler. You tend to carry that in your shoulders. So here they are in the final 250. You need to sit up and sprint.
Big push from OKC trying to hold on to second, but as they come to the finish line here at the U.S. Rowing National Championships in the Women's Elite Senior Quad, it's Orion crossing for the gold. OKC will hold on for silver, followed by Y Quad Cities for the bronze. In that order, then it's the under 19 women's selection camp boat, followed by the OKC B boat and the under 18 high performance team boat in the Women's Elite Senior Quads Final. The next two races, men's quads, both straight to finish quads, coming up in just a moment. Orion winning the gold medal there in the Women's Elite Senior Quad in a time of 6:35.84. OKC in second, Y Quad Cities in third. We'll go back up for the first of two quads for the men championship races, both again straight to final, so these boats have not raced yet. They will be on the course for the first time. There is a scratch in the men's elite senior quad final. Conshohocken in lane 4 will not be there, so only 4 boats in this race. In lane 2 will be a Queen City Composite, lane 3 Penn AC, lane 5 Undine, and lane 6 New York AC. So 2 pairs of boats on each side of one on each side of the course for this race for the men's elite senior quad final.
It appears that Undine is off to a nice start there, followed closely behind by Penn AC and New York AC, with the Queen City Composite boat just slightly off. But again, local team, so really like to see them do well.
The Penn AC boat very fast, but it looks like the Penn AC boat with some advantage over the Queen City Composite boat in this initial run. But we've seen Undine and New York AC move fast in the second half of the race, so we'll see how it sets up as it goes along. But as we look overhead, the lanes 2 and 3, Queen City Composite and Penn AC rowing side by side, hotly pursued by the Undine boat in lane 5, and then New York AC about a boat length back in 4th place right now.
Well, that Queen City Composite boat really is setting a blistering pace with their stroke rating. I was questioning myself whether they're going to settle, and I guess that's the rating that they've settled to, but that is a pretty high rating compared to the boat right next to them and compared to the others. Let's see if they can hang on to that pace all the way through.
Penn AC always likes to get out fast and furious, and they are fast and furious right now, but not fast for their stroke rate. Long and strong is the look that the Penn AC boat has right now, as they are about a half a boat length ahead of that Queen City Composite.
They're looking very upright there at Penn AC, setting a nice pace. And now it's really a fight at this point. Queen City and is that Undine right now looking to play second or third, with Penn AC not quite some open water, but they certainly would like to get some, and they're working on it.
Undine beginning to move up too. They, with a slower rate than the Queen City Composite boat, they have begun to gain on the Queen City Composite boat and are catching up, but still trailing by about half a boat length. In the meantime, it looks like open water beginning to show behind that Penn AC boat in front of the Queen City Composite that's in second place right now. The Men's Elite Senior Quad Final at the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships, roaring down the course as we watch from the finish line. I'm Mark Purcell with Jenny Bean Scubin, calling these races and keeping up with these fast-moving boats in the men's quads. Again, this was a race that went straight to final due to the number of entries. So 5 boats originally scheduled, but there was a scratch in lane 4. So just 4 racing right now. Queen City Composite, Penn AC, Undine, and New York AC. And it was Penn AC out fast with the Queen City Composite, but Penn AC now in the lead with a boat length and a little open water. Meanwhile, Undine slowly creeping up on Queen City in the early portion of this race.
That's right. We haven't seen much from New York AC yet. And in this shot, we really can't tell where they're sitting. But Penn AC is looking good. They have a nice, easy pace, along with Undine has a nice, easy pace. Let's see if Queen City has adjusted their pace a little bit and hoping to settle into something that they can maintain as we get into the second half of the race.
.750 meters from the finish. Penn AC continuing to extend their lead. Looks like Undine has rode up on Queen City and is now in second. Queen City falling back to third. Meanwhile, New York AC trailing by a few boat lengths off the back in lane 6. But out front, the Penn AC boat still going strong and still looking very nice with their long and seemingly slow strokes. But that's the thing about these rowing competitions. They make it look easy, but you know if you row that they are working hard out there.
Boy, they are. Those legs are on fire, and your lungs are burning, and you are just hanging on until the finish, really giving it all you've got, and then you feel that lactic acid really set in. So you see a lot of crews after the finish looking to at least move a little bit, try to relieve the pain in their legs. Anyone who has gotten on a rowing machine at their gym, or if you're a rower yourself, you certainly are aware of how hard it is.
Penn AC stroking strongly as they head towards the finish line. Undine on the move, but running out of water to be able to catch up with that Penn AC boat here in the Men's Elite Senior Quad Final at the National Championships. It is Penn AC out front with open water. Undine now in second. Queen City Composite in third, and New York AC in fourth.
Boy, they really are looking strong here. They're not carrying any of the stress in their shoulders. They're keeping their shoulders down and sitting up through the final 250.
A glance from the stroke towards the beach, checking on the competition from Undine as they come to the line for the Men's Elite Senior Quads here at the National Championships. It is Penn AC grabbing the gold. Crossing the line in second, it's Undine in lane 5. 2.5 boat lengths back, crossing in third, it's Queen City Composite. And then New York AC rounding out the field in the Men's Elite Senior Quad Final here at the U.S. Rowing National Championships for 2019. Celebration from Penn AC. What a race for them. Long and strong all the way down the course. Pretty sculling happening there in a time of 6:02.61.
That was a great way to do it. They had a strong race all the way through. they really weren't challenged too much by anyone behind them, and you could tell it really uh, they were really able to provide a nice smooth row all the way down the course.
As you can see in the background at the finish line, the big eights moving down the course and towards the start. Those will be the big finale for the national championships, the women's and the men's eights coming up beginning at 3:26. But between now and then, another quad race and a break. We'll have a break after we watch the men's elite senior lightweight quads race. There will be 3 boats in this straight to final race. Coming up, New York AC in lane 3, Undine in lane 4, and Greater Dayton Composite in lane 5. So we watch the eights begin to move down the course, and we wait for those dog fights with the big dogs to happen in just a bit.
That's right. It's really exciting to watch those eights, but I'm looking forward to this men's elite lightweight quad race. Really, quads are a treat. When you have a great quad that you can just get up and moving, it feels like you're flying, almost like it feels like in the 8, but you have those 4 rowers and still the same number of oars as you have in the 8, and it's really a special feeling.
And sweet to hear the water bubble past when you really have that quad rolling.
That's right. That's right. As sweep rowers turn scullers, we have really a thoughts on both sides, and both types of rowing are amazing and fun, and they have their benefits for sure.
Everybody has their own drum that they dance to and their own oar that they pull. The men's elite senior lightweight quads will be racing in a championship. Just 3 boats in this championship race. Again, we began with intermediates earlier in the day, then moved on to the elites and seniors. The way you move through those rankings is you row as an intermediate, have a victory, or move up to senior. Win in a race at the senior level, you become an elite. And as you move each up those categories, then you will become you remain at that level of rowing in the competitions.
That's right. You can race up, but you cannot race down. So once you reach that level of elite or senior, you cannot then rejoin the ranks back in the intermediate category. You see the beach there, some folks enjoying the swimming out here at Harsha Lake at East Fork. It's really a lovely place to be. They've got such a nice beach, and we've been really lucky with the weather today and really all week, Mark.
Indeed, there had been quite a bit of rain up until a couple of weeks ago, and now benefiting from some drier conditions. The water in the lake, since it is a flood retention pond for the Army Corps of Engineers in controlling flooding along the Ohio River, the water had been up on this beach. The beach was probably about half the size it is right now, just a week and a half or so ago. But the Army Corps of Engineers releasing water to allow the level of the lake to drop and create some perfect competition conditions here at Harsha Lake. We are waiting the start of the men's elite senior lightweight quad, but there is no one in the start gate right now, so we're not certain exactly what's happening up there at the start. We will keep you informed as we become informed. You can see the start gate up there. There were going to be 3 boats in this men's elite senior lightweight quad final, but there are none lining up, and they're over in the shade at the moment. So we will see what happens. In the meantime, it'll be the big boats, the women's elite senior 8s and men's elite senior 8s, the final 2 races of these national championships. And I have to say, we've seen some fantastic competition here, Jenny, and it's been interesting to see these boats from all across the country competing at a very, very high level at some very, very fast speeds.
That's right. You do have crews coming from all around. We've seen crews from the West Coast and the East Coast and really all around the United States. And you have to think about travel for a lot of these crews as they're traveling long distances. A lot of the rowers will fly to the location, but then there's a crew behind them that has to bring their boats and bring their equipment, because you don't want to have to be scrambling for boats and equipment when you arrive somewhere. So you think about how these crews probably have to take apart their shells and break everything down and load it up on their trailer well in advance of the rowers actually departing. So it's quite an undertaking to come all the way here if you're coming from perhaps all the way over on the West Coast.
I'll take this opportunity to again thank the sponsors and partners of U.S. Rowing. Concept 2, the National Rowing Federation, EMC, JL Racing, Visit Sarasota, Regatta Central, Empacher, Filippi, Hudson, Captain U, Vespoli, Bucket List Events, Dreher, Croker, NK, Thorne, and United. All sponsors and partners of U.S. Rowing, spreading the word and the good deeds that rowing does all across the nation.
Looks like the 8s are making their way down to the starting area. We have, as you mentioned before, Mark, that cove there that the crews can warm up in, and the officials are down there keeping everybody in order, making sure there aren't any clashes down in the warm-up area. So now we can see that quads are at least moving onto the course. So hopefully we can get this race, the men's elite senior lightweight quad, underway.
3 boats in this race. I am seeing 2 of them right now. They may have had some trouble with the start dock, adjusting the fingers to fit the quads, though quads were just racing, so you don't know that that would necessarily be the case. But there are the 3 boats for the men's elite senior lightweight quad final moving into place at the moment.
So now we have a bit of a delay as we wait for the quads to turn and back into their starting dock. Something that these crews have a lot of experience doing, but if it's your first time or maybe even your second time backing into a start dock, it's really not an easy thing to navigate. You pull into your lane and you have to estimate where is a good stopping point where you can check it down and then back in, which again, not that easy to do, even for elite rowers.
Well, as they line up, I'm speculating that it may have been the U.S. Rowing refs decided to compress the starts of these last 3 races rather than taking a break before the 8s. So they may have delayed the start for this lightweight quad final in order to send the referee crews down rather than doing another race waiting for a break, which would have been about 8 minutes, and then race back down again. So we shall see. It appears, at least at this point, 3 races right in a row to wrap up and conclude this 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championship.
We see the women rowing there on their way down to the start, getting ready for their race, which is coming up next, the Women's Elite Senior 8 Final. So that should be a really great race shaping up with a full group of 6 boats in that race, as well as the men's 8 race. But you can see a lot of families having a good time out here at Harsha Lake It's just a perfect day to come out and have a swim.
Well, I can mention an announcer or two who wouldn't mind either A, being out there rowing, or B, being out there swimming at this moment, but work to do here at the National Championships.
That's right, I'm right there with you, Mark. That looks awfully tempting out there. I have been out to dip my toes in the water, and it feels great.
In the starting blocks, the men's elite senior lightweight quads being aligned for the start for their championship race. Another straight to finals race in these national championships. Again, the lineup, New York AC in lane 3, Undine in lane 4, Greater Dayton Composite in lane 5. The lower number lanes out towards the center of the lake, or the right-hand side of the course as you're looking at the picture on your screen right now on the USRowing YouTube channel, and the higher number closer to the shore, or the left-hand side of the screen from this particular angle.
We have a nice view here right now from the pinch point. If you're looking at the course, and if you've seen some rowing with us already here at East Fork, you've noticed that there's a bit of land kind of jutting out towards the course there at around the 300 or 350 down. And so we have a camera stationed out there and some poles out there to keep the rowers safe from the boat launch area that's there at that pinch point.
The lightweights for the men, meaning they need to weigh 160 pounds or less, and every rower in the boat has to be 160 pounds or less. Not an average weight, but for each of the individuals. And in the women's events, it's 130 pounds is the limit. So the lightweights, again, having less mass, have a little, I won't say a slight disadvantage for the heavyweights, but it is considered to be a disadvantage. But boy, I've seen some lightweight boats can really, really fly.
Oh, I've seen some lightweight boats, at least in collegiate level. At Yale, on occasion, our lightweight boats have beaten the heavyweights, and let me tell you, it makes for an uncomfortable afternoon in the boathouse when that happens, because the lightweights, generally you think the lightweights will have less muscle mass to exert their will over the water and move their boat forward, but lightweights, it's a different type of rowing. It's really very technical. Lightweights tend to row with a higher stroke rating. They just have some great conditioning.
The eights await as we see them sitting in the shade in the cove in front of the dam just past that pinch point that Jenny was just talking about. Moving up, the Marshall boat there, making certain that the boats can clear the point and enter the warm-up area without interfering with the races.
You can see those eights really coveting those shady spots. They're all sitting there trying to find some relief from the sun. It's not that hot of a day. We've had hotter, more humid days, but when that sun is beating down on you and it reflects up off the water, you really need to protect yourself.
And especially here in the middle of the afternoon in Ohio. They may have had a false start. I see a boat still moving into position now at the start dock. I thought they were lined up. They may have had an issue of some type and had to realign, but still a delay in the men's elite senior lightweight quads.
It's not easy. Even once you get locked into the start dock, you still have to consider bringing your boat around and finding your line all the way down the course. So with the scullers, it's a little bit easier, only in respect that one person who's looking to adjust the course, they have control over whether they can go one side or the other because they have two oars in their hands. But it's still not an easy thing to do, as we can tell. Maybe the crews are struggling a little bit with that, but we're waiting for this race to get off the line so that we can move on with the elite eights.
This race already 14 minutes behind schedule. So there must have been issues because the U.S. rowing referees certainly enjoy keeping the regattas running on time, and they are always running on time.
That they are. They've done a great job of that at this race. We've really seen everything run like clockwork, thanks to the officials and thanks to the volunteers who are out here making everything run smoothly.
I'm sure there are some stake boat holders, the ones who help line up the boats there, lying down, holding the stern of those boats in place and taking instructions from the alignment judge to move it forward or back. I'm sure there's a few of them that are wanting to take a dip too.
That's right. You know, sometimes you lay low enough on those fingers that you might actually have a little bit of water
Right.
already on you. I've seen them kind of hanging out there, and maybe some of the younger kids who are out there volunteering, they're sitting up a little bit higher. But if you have a little bit more weight on that finger, sometimes it's not a bad thing because you can get some of the nice cool water of the lake kind of up under you and keep you cool.
Still waiting for the men's elite senior lightweight quad final to begin. Still sitting in the starting dock, going through the alignment, not really certain what the issue is here. Could have been an equipment issue that with one of the boats that delayed things. See a lot of people standing on the dock. Those may be the stake boat holders who are not needed right now since there are only 3 boats in this race.
I bet that's what's going on, and they're looking for shade as well. But hoping to see some good racing here from the men's elite senior lightweight quads. Looking forward to them getting underway.
Well, as this delays continues, I want to say before we get into the heart of the race and the big conclusions, Jenny Bean Scubin, thank you very much for being here and calling these races. Been an enjoyable couple of days with the semifinals yesterday and the finals today. Appreciate your help and your enthusiasm and knowledge here in these national championships.
Well, thank you, Mark. I really enjoyed being here, and it looks like we finally have a start of the lightweight quads, and so that's good to see, and the crews are moving well. We don't have any issues, at least right off the line.
So again, I forgot the lineup. Let me give it to you again. In the men's elite senior lightweight quads, New York AC in lane 3, Undine in lane 4, Greater Dayton Composite in lane 5, and New York AC out to a quick start. Those boats from New York AC always love those quick starts and trying to stretch things out. Greater Dayton Composite in second at the moment with Undine in the middle and about a half a boat length back. But New York AC charging to the forefront in this 2,000-meter race of the men's elite senior lightweight quads.
I love watching New York AC really reach out for that water. They get some great reach there at the catch. You can really see it from this angle, how well they are all moving together to get way out there and grab some extra water to propel that boat forward.
Watching the symmetry of the oars in the water, the rowers moving together as they plow down the course here, really seeing that efficiency that they're working with in that New York AC quad as they stay ahead of both Greater Dayton and Undine.
They're really moving well. It looks like they almost have some open water over the Greater Dayton Composite boat. Kind of hard to tell from this angle, but as they move past us here, you can really see their blade work, all blades going in together, really looking strong.
Very even too, very evenly matched, same height of the oars above the water. The catches very much synchronized, very powerful moves from the New York AC boat as they lead the championship run for the men's elite senior lightweight quads. Greater Dayton Composite in lane 5, holding on to second, but that boat from Undine seems to have found their water, and they are beginning to creep up on the boat from Greater Dayton.
New York AC is way out ahead now with some open water, really charging forward. Greater Dayton needs to find something, find another gear if they want to challenge for first. But they also need to really hold off that challenge from Undine, because Undine seems to be moving quite well here in the middle of the race.
The championship final here at the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships on Harsha Lake in East Fork State Park, Bethel, Ohio, just east of Cincinnati. The men's elite senior lightweight quads rolling towards the finish line, and a gold medal. New York AC in the lead with Undine and Greater Dayton Composite pursuing. Crossing the halfway point, New York AC still in the lead.
They're really rowing well together here. All those blades entering and exiting the water together, which is what you want to see, especially in the quad when each person has 2 oars. There's a lot more to do, really, technically, in sculling. Each type of rowing presents its own unique challenges, but in sculling, having to square up and feather those blades together when you have 2 of them instead of 1 of them, that's a more unique of a challenge than sweeping presents.
New York AC, one of the faster stroke rates on the water right now. So battling with Undine and Greater Dayton for the championship in the men's elite senior lightweight quads. New York AC still ahead. Undine has moved ahead of Dayton by about a boat length, but New York AC open water from their stern to the bow of the second place Undine boat.
They're looking great, really steering a good course, keeping their line, and really powering away with it. But those other 2 crews are hoping to press and give them a run for their money, but they may just run out of water here as they approach the beach.
Once you get a substantial lead, or as substantial a lead as New York AC has, it is hard to overcome that open water and that boat length in the remaining meters of the race.
Right, it's also easier for the boat out ahead when you can actually see the challengers approaching. You don't have to crane your neck, you don't have to look around. All the members of the crew can see the other boats there, and if they sense somebody fighting them for first, then they can certainly all pull it together.
2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships with the men's elite senior lightweight quads final. New York AC in the lead, Undine in second, as they row in front of the beach and begin to hear the cheers of their crewmates. New York AC stroking towards that gold medal in the men's elite senior lightweight quads. Smooth and powerful, they continue down. Undine now moving, but still not going to be able to catch up with that New York AC boat. It'll be the Greater Dayton Composite crossing in third, but the gold medal in the men's elite senior lightweight quads goes to the New York Athletic Club. Their winning time, 6:15:25.
What a great showing from New York AC. They really had an excellent race all the way down the line. They stayed cool and collected and walked away with it.
The penultimate race for these 2019 National Championships about to happen. The women's elite senior eights will be hitting the road here in just a moment. Leaving the starting gate will be the under 18 girls high performance B boat in lane 1, their A boat in lane 2, the U19 women's selection camp B boat in lane 3, the A boat in lane 4, Badger Development Camp in lane 5 and TBC Racing in lane 6. And this race is underway with the U19 B and A boat and Badger Development boat out to an early lead, dragging along TBC Racing along with the two U18 girls high performance teams.
It appears that the U18 girls high performance teams A and B are slightly off the pack at this point. Really early in the race, the crews have probably been called down, maybe to their race paces by their coxswains by now. But we do have a nice competition going on between the U19 Selection Camp B boat and their Selection Camp A boat right now.
TBC Racing trying to add to their team points as the team trophy and the men's and women's team trophies will be awarded at the end of these national championships. Just one more race after this race for the women's elite senior 8. The men will have their turn. Here we go with the U19A boat beginning to move out ahead of their teammates in the B boat in lane 3. In the meantime, it's the Badger Development Camp boat that's right there staying in contact, as is TBC Racing. It's the U18 girls high performance team boats A and B in lanes 1 and 2 that are slightly off pace, and it's the A boat just ahead of the B boat in those lanes on the far side of the course.
These crews have really settled into their race paces now. They are looking to move together to really find that length and that lift in their boat. You want that boat to just essentially lift up out of the water as you move, and that's the feeling that they're all gunning for right now. And that's probably what we're seeing in that U19 women's selection camp boat. Having a good race, a good row. They are looking for open water on their teammates there in the U19B boat, but they don't quite have it yet.
The coxswain of the A boat about even with the bow ball on the B boat right now. In the meantime, the Badger Development Camp boat is beginning to walk up a little bit on the U19 Women's Selection Camp B boat and beginning to move forward and catch up with that B boat.
That's right, Badger, that coxswain is looking over, and that coxswain is thinking, we can take this, we can challenge them, and we can maybe vie for second place here. So Badger Development Camp really needs to find some extra speed here in the middle of the race where it's going to make a difference and place them in a location towards the finish where they can execute and maybe steal the silver medal.
Women's Elite Senior 8s more than halfway to the finish line here in these championships for 2019. Sensing the finish line behind them, the A boat for the under-19 women's selection camp continues to plow forward. Badger Development Camp boat in lane 5 is now caught up and is beginning to pass the U19 women's selection camp B boat. TBC coming with them, sticking with them, but here they come around the point and towards the beach here at Harsha Lake in the Women's Elite Senior 8s, and it's still that U19 Women's Selection Camp A boat out in front and beginning to gain some water, but Badger Development Camp coming up fast, Jenny.
Badger Development Camp is moving, but they may have made their move a little too late, at least to catch the leaders. Let's see if TBC can place themselves in a location where they could possibly make the podium, because they seem to be finding some speed here in the second half of the race and really looking to move up.
That familiar delta shape beginning to form in this championship final for the Women's Elite Senior 8s. U19 Women's Selection Camp A boat in lane 4. Out in front, the Badger Development boat has now passed the U19 Selection Camp B boat. Now has a couple seats up on them, but they're running low on water to be able to catch up with that leading boat from the U19 Women's Selection Camp. TBC continuing to move forward, but their forward progress beginning to slip a little bit, while the U18 Girls High Performance Team A boat is in 5th right now and their B boat in 6th.
It looks as the U19 Women's Selection Camp A boat is really going to get there first. They've executed a great race plan here, started out ahead and stayed ahead, and they have a great view of all of their competitors behind them. They're feeling pretty confident and they're moving well as they approach the final 250. Badger Development Camp really hoping to stay ahead of the U19B boat. They really need to make sure to execute their sprint well and stay on top of things and not get too frazzled here at the end of the race. TBC hoping to press and maybe see what they can do to get on the podium.
U19 Women's Selection Camp A boat in lane 4, racing towards the gold here at the National Championships. Out in front, Badger Development Camp boat in lane 5, struggling to try to catch up with them as they come down to the line for the National Championship. It is the Women's Selection Camp A boat in lane 4, grabbing the gold. Here comes a charge from the B boat, but it will be Badger who will get the silver, and the U19 Women's Selection Camp B boat, the bronze. They're followed up by TBC Racing, and then the two boats from the under 18 girls high performance team. The A boat crossing the line in 5th, and the B boat will cross the line in 6th. But that under 19 Women's Selection Camp A boat in lane 4, winning the gold at the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships.
That was some exciting racing by these women. That was an amazing effort, and they really had an awesome race. They had a commanding lead, and they really kept it throughout most of the race. They pulled out ahead towards the middle, really inching their way up, and just did a great job of staying together and staying composed.
6:29.90 the time. 6:28.90 the time for the U19 Women's Selection Camp Women's Elite Senior 8 in their championship run. And now the big conclusion for these 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships, the Men's Elite Senior 8s final, with 3 Mendota boats in the race, 2 TBC boats in the race, and 1 from New York AC, the fastest qualifying boat in the race. So here we go, setting up for the grand finale of the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships. Again, thanks to the Claremont County CVB, to Mercy Health, Likens Energy, Cincinnati USA, Park National Bank, and the other sponsors and folks who made this great regatta possible. Thanks to the U.S. Rowing sponsors and partners who made this event quite the national championship indeed.
You know, you talk to the officials and they just love coming back here year after year. It's a great place to race. It's a great place to row. They've got some good people out here, as you mentioned, Mark, all of our great sponsors and our great volunteers. And so it's just been an exciting, exciting couple of days out here in Bethel, Ohio.
And remember, you can go back and relive your national championship race on the U.S. Rowing YouTube channel. The entire competition's available on U.S. Rowing's YouTube channel after the competition. And here we go. The last race, Jenny. It's going to be exciting with 3 boats from Mendota in this race. Their C boat in lane 1, their B boat in lane 2, and their A boat in lane 3. Then it's the fast qualifier, New York AC in lane 4, and 2 boats from TBC Racing in the remaining lanes. The A boat in lane 5 and the B boat in lane 6. The final race, the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships.
They had a good start here, nice clean start from all of the crews as they're moving down the course and settling into their race pace. Usually in an 8, you'll take about 5, between 5, 6, maybe 7 shorter strokes to really get your boat up and moving, and then have some high strokes after that, some high full-length strokes, and then settle into your race pace. All of this, of course, your coxswain is calling to you and urging you forward, making sure your crew rows as one.
See how they're shaping up. The boat's still connected through the first 500. Mendota's A boat, a slight lead with New York AC and TBC A dogging him right along, but so are the other Mendota boats. All the boats separated by about 3/4 to 2/3 of a boat length. The TBC Racing B boat just slightly off, but the rest of them very close together within 4 or 5 seats of each other.
Well, you look across and it's just nothing but effort and rowers. And that's just great to see how they are all so evenly matched and all right there together. All of those Badger Development Camp, or the Mendota boats from Wisconsin, close to Badgers. But
that's why you're thinking Badgers, of course. Yeah, a lot of red and white on this course right now. On the far side in lanes 1, 2, and 3, the Mendota boats racing for the gold in the men's elite senior 8 final. New York AC in lane 4, the fast qualifier, wanting to keep that speed here for the gold. TBC Racing in lanes 5 and 6, hoping to add to their team point tallies for those team cups being awarded at the national championships.
It's as though we have the Mendota boat out ahead of New York AC, followed closely by TBC Racing. Really looks like the New York AC and the TBC Racing are very close together there in second, with the Mendota A boat in lane 3 with maybe a couple of seats out ahead. But really, there's a lot of overlap with these crews. You can't count anyone out quite yet.
The Mendota A boat out fast. They had quite a few boats that were in the semifinals trying to qualify for this final, so they have half the field for the men's elite senior 8s final, and hoping that all 3 boats, I'm sure, would make medals. But right now, the Mendota A boat in the lead, New York AC in second, TBC Racing A in third, 1, 2, 3, as they head past the halfway mark and towards the 1,500-meter buoys.
Boy, if there's a slip-up by TBC Racing, you better believe that those Mendota B and C boats are going to take advantage, because they are right there along with that TBC Racing boat. So at this point, really it's Mendota's, but they still have some overlap with New York AC, who has overlap again with TBC Racing, and then those Mendota B and C boats are waiting right in the wings, hoping to take a podium finish.
It appears the New York AC boat has begun to creep up on Mendota as we've been watching. I'm seeing the bow slowly making some progress, but with 750 meters or so to go, a long way to go to catch up with the bow ball of that Mendota A boat. But New York AC has been fast in many of the boats in the semifinals, so they may have some speed to catch up. If Mendota can respond, they may be able to fend off the advancing New York AC boat. But again, New York AC had the fast time to qualify for this final.
If New York AC wants it, then they better go for it now, because they are running out of room. So if they're going to take it, they need to take their sprint early.
Here they come, the Red Boys, 250 meters to go. Mendota A in the lead in the men's elite senior 8s. It's New York AC, hot pursuit right behind them. They have a 5-seat advantage in the Mendota boat as they're coming closer and closer to the line. New York AC trying to walk up on the Mendota A boat, but New York AC closely running out of room, but we'll see if there's a big push at the end. In the meantime, TBC trying to fend off the Mendota B boat for that third medal spot in this men's elite senior 8 final at the national championships. At the line, holding off New York AC, it's Mendota winning the gold. New York AC with the silver, and the battle for the bronze coming to the line. It's going to be tight. Mendota may have had it. TBC may have pushed through. It's hard to call. We'll let those results people who know what they're doing decide who won in the men's elite senior 8 final when it comes to the bronze. Mendota, though, winning the gold in a time of 5:50:30 in the men's elite senior 8s, and it is Mendota B with a time of 5:57:92, just ahead of TBC that clocked in at 5:58:04. That's right, less than a tenth of a second separating those boats for that bronze medal finish.
Boy, that was close. What a great race here. It was awesome to see these men excel and just have a great time out on the water, as we see celebrating a little bit there in the Mendota boat. Congratulations to these gentlemen. And I bet they're looking forward to throwing their coxswain in later on today. Bet their coxswain might be looking forward to that as well.
He might jump in before that even happens. We'll
Right.
see. Well, what a great round of racing here on this final championship Sunday for the 2019 U.S. Rowing National Championships from Harsha Lake and East Fork Lake State Park in Bethel, Ohio. Glad to have you along. Again, you can relive all your national championship racing online on the U.S. Rowing YouTube channel. All the races available afterwards. You can tune in there. For Jenny Bean Scubin, I'm Mark Purcell, wishing you straight, hard, and fast rowing from Harsha Lake.